Hello and welcome to Get It Right. My name is Susan Mwangi, and as always, this is where we bring you educative programs, giving you a platform to learn from other farmers from across the country. And today we're going to be looking more about sunflower farming, and our host farmer today is Matthew. Matthew, thank you so much for having us today. Yeah, so maybe we start by getting to know who Matthew is.
I'm the crop manager on the Mysore farm. It's my job to produce a variety of different crops for mainly cereals, but some pulses and sunflowers also.
Yeah, so maybe you can start by telling us the acreage, the size of the land, and when all this started.
There's two companies, but together we're doing about almost 5,000 acres. Started in 2014, so we've been doing 7 years, about 7 years now, expanding pole pole. We do a variety of different crops for rotation, and we're utilizing a technique called conservation agriculture. The idea being that all the rain that is falling on the soil is conserved. So we're not, in order to do that, because we're in a low rainfall environment, we don't ever want to lima. So we're zero-till, completely zero-till. There's no limbering on this shamba. The first time we lima, then it's flat. After that, it's just rotation and controlling the weeds with chemicals. In order to be able to zero-till, we have to control compaction. And so to do that, we have everything on a GPS, and all our machinery is a certain size in order to fit that pattern. So you end up with hard roadways on your shamba, and then soft area for planting. Weeds are controlled with chemicals, and because we use rotation, that helps with the pests and disease and residue. These sunflowers are called Apache. They're from France, and they're hybrid sunflowers designed for high oil content. The sunflowers are really good in the rotation because they promote a lot of soil activity, which is good for phosphorus. So wheat after sunflowers does very well, and they're good for controlling the weeds. A lot of the weeds that sumbua the wheat, you can kill in sunflowers. So wheat after sunflowers does really well, and that's their part.
So let's talk about the soil type that we have here and how it helps in the type of the system that you're using.
The soil type here is mainly black cotton. We chose black cotton because it's very high. It has a very high water holding capacity, which is why everybody gets stuck in it when it rains. What that means is that it can absorb a lot of rain, so that when you grow your crops there, they have like a large moisture bank to use. Other soil types don't hold as much water and it runs away, so you're wasting it. So here we've chosen black cotton on purpose. Although most guys don't like it, we really like it. Yeah, one other thing is very important to note. If you look at the shamba here, because we haven't limed it, we're left with all the crop residue from previous crops. What that does is provides a mulch on the surface, which protects the soil from the wind, the sun, anything which is going to dry it out. So that's where we're going with the moisture conservation. It's like when you plant a tree, you plant the tree and you put some leaves, some chafu around the top to stop the tree drying out. That's the same technique we're using here with the chafu from the previous crop. The key for managing any pest really is rotation, because some disease or pest that sumbuas gano will not sumbua sunflowers or canola or mahindi, for example. So if you look at how many crops we grow: wheat, barley, canola, sunflowers, mahindi, chickpeas. So every time you plant another crop behind the previous one, you're naturally controlling those diseases and pests. So if you can plant, say, gano every 4 or 5 years, you're naturally going to be much better at controlling those diseases. We employ a lot of casual, especially ladies. I like to employ ladies. I feel like they're more reliable. But yeah, so we probably have at any one time between 20 and 60 ladies, Then I've got the main guys who drive the machinery and so on. So I think overall we do a very good job. Next door there also employs a lot of ladies. It takes a lot of work getting the shamba ready, flat, remove all the trees, remove all the rocks. There's also some guys, some charcoal guys that come and do that for us. So I think probably all up we're looking at, I would say about 150 people. I would say the market is at the moment small, but it's getting bigger. There's a couple of guys who are investing in the pressing, squeezing equipment to take the oil out of the sunflower, and that I think is key. So I think maybe right now the market is not very big, but it will get bigger. I think the problem right now with the system is it has to be very big because of the machinery involved. And because of the cost of for example, the GPS, the combine harvester, the planter, it all has to be very big. If we could find some way of maybe scaling it down, so instead of we're using a 9-meter system here, maybe we use a 3-meter system, and maybe a simpler version of the GPS. I think then it could be adopted by a lot more, say 40, 50, 100 acre shambas, and then that then would create a lot of opportunity in the rest of Kenya. Traditionally crops are grown in the highlands, the high rainfall areas. What we're doing is partly trying to show people that you can grow crops in areas that are very arid and very low rainfall. And this technique comes from Australia, where they grow crops on 300-400 mil a year. So that opens up a lot more of Kenya. Price per kilo is about 40 shillings per kilo.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's say per hectare, 40 shillings, 2 ton a hectare, you're going to get 80,000. Looking at sunflower, obviously it depends on your yield, but if you could get 2 ton a hectare on the sunflower, that's 80,000 a hectare, and you put in maybe 30. So you're going to put in 30 and make 50 profit.
So maybe you can tell us how long has this crop been here, and what are you anticipating to be harvesting?
Yeah, so let's start with the planting maybe. You can see from here, this shamba had wheat before. So you can see now we planted it straight into the stubble from the wheat, yeah? So now this wheat is lying on the surface. This wheat is lying on the wheat stubble is lying on the surface, keeping that muchanga from getting too dry. Right now you can see these cracks. This is that classic black cotton muchanga, but you see that muchanga is full of roots from the wheat crop, and it's cracking now because it's dry, because the sunflowers have stored most of the moisture. Any moisture that was in there is now mostly out with the sunflower.
Actually, there is still a lot of moisture, is there? I think there is still a bit left.
There's still a bit that's using, but not very much. Yeah, yeah. I would expect it. If I was going to plant this shamba again, I would need a lot more moisture than this, and I wouldn't want to see any cracks. You see any of these cracks? Yeah. But there's still something. These sunflowers are almost ready. So maybe for now they're like this is just natural drying off. So they're almost ready. You can see them there inside.
So this is what is extracted. Many farmers don't do this, so I think this will be amazing for them to see.
Yeah, so what's going to come out of that is just the seeds. This is what's going to look like in the combine when it's been harvested. All of the rest of the plant now
Go to waste. So you make other
No.
byproducts from.
No, so the rest of this plant, I want it on the shamba it's like the mulch for the next crop.
Seeds. Okay. So we've seen a lot of farmers doing a lot of how do I call it? Like the tilling of the land.
Yeah.
What are the disadvantages of doing that?
Every time you till your land, essentially you're drying it out. You open it like that, it dries, it kaukas. Now,
Are we not improving aeration and also being able to mix the topsoil and the soil underneath?
you're going to make it soft. Most guys, the reason they till their shamba is they want to, number one, kill weeds. Any weeds that are there, they want to kill them. They want to make their muchanga soft, so they have a nice seed bed for their, and the seed comes and it's nice and soft and it's good for the seed to grow. Yeah, but the disadvantages now of tilling that is that you're going to dry off maybe 1 foot of the top of the soil. That's now dry. So before you plant, you have to wait for more rain.
Okay, now when the leaves are drying like this, is this something to be worried about? Maybe this is supposed to be feeding the...
No, not at all. This is ready, almost ready for harvest. So it's just now the seed's all full. It's just ready for harvesting. So all we're going to do now is let this plant die, and when the seed is at the correct moisture, we'll bring the combine harvester. Basically now we're just waiting for it to dry off a bit. You can see the quichua is nice and big. That comes from it being a hybrid. Where the sunflower is something that needs to be planted very well spaced and quite thin, because each plant can get very big and take up a big area. You can see the leaves are taking a lot of light. So if somewhere it's planted a bit close together, you get small quichuas. Somewhere you've got a bit more space, you'll get a nice big quichua like this, and then that's where the yield will come from. The big one. I think it's five plants per square meter. Yeah, is about at optimum yield there. This seed for this variety has come from France. You can buy a local variety called Feda, KWS Feda, but the issue we're having with Feda is that the heads are very uneven. So you're going to find that one head is tall, one head is short, and then a lot of them fall off the combine harvester because you can't set the height very well. The better varieties like this are just quite even. You see a lot of the quichuas are in that same bracket, so it's much easier to set the combine head height.
Have you considered ever being a producer of seeds yourself?
Not really, not yet. Maybe something like Mahindi might be good.
How long does it take to decompose? I can see it's
I would say completely, it depends on the crop, but I would say 2 to 3 years.
To completely have this. So you plant like only once?
Yeah.
Once a year?
Once a year, no double cropping, only once a year. Because of the moisture, everything for us is to build up that moisture until we have enough. Then we plant, and then it's like removing the risk. Yeah. So I think it's a way of reducing your risk a lot. So even if we get very, very little rain like this year, you can see we still have a crop. Sure. This plant has grown on like 70 ml of rain on top of it, which if I'd limit this shamba, this thing would be dead. Sunflower is very good. It has a lot of flowers. The same with the canola and the peas. So what we've done over there is we've put a lot of beehives. The idea being that we'll make a bit of extra money and use the nectar from all the sunflowers on the bees. If guys know what they're doing, they can get even 20-30 kilos from each hive, and the price of honey is like 1,000 shillings a kilo. So it's a lot of money they can get as a side benefit from growing sunflowers or canola. What happens here is there's a sprayer that comes to put weed dower or whatever, and the wheels sit here. So there's one here, and then if you come over here, there's another one. So the spacing is 3 meters. This is like the barabara that goes through the crop. So this barabara will never be planted. Every year it's the same. Every time a machine goes through this shamba, inapita kwa barabara. Every time. Hii barabara too. Yeah. Planter, harvester, sprayer, kila machine inapita hapa kwa barabara. So the mugus sit here, and then here is always going to be soft, so I don't have to limber it.
So it doesn't get like compact?
Doesn't get compacted. Never gets kanyangan, so it never gets compacted. That's what I'm saying is on this shamba, this barabara is always hard. It's also going to help me when the crop is very wet and I have to harvest or spray or something. The road is hard, but the mchanga is always soft where I want to plant. So that's why every single machine has to be the same width, and then it goes on the GPS. So if you look down there, if you look down each line, they're exactly straight. The same with the mahindi. You know, you see a lot of guys just kaushing mahindi there on the ground. Then a lot of it poteas out the gunia, eaten by deges or something, or it may be ozzers if it's in the gunia when it's wet. Here we normally, because it's quite dry, we just wait until conditions are good. The bag was at the right moisture.
Do you have like a special way, maybe specific temperatures that are required to store it for that long?
Not really temperature, but moisture is key. Yeah.
It has to be completely zero.
Yeah. So for Gano it's 13% moisture. I actually don't know for sunflowers, but I'll have to learn. This is my first time planting the sunflower. Something like canola, it's 8%. So it depends on the crop. You'll find on the internet at what moisture ita oza. It's a shame you've come now, because maybe next season we'll have the whole shamba. This will be wheat, that could be barley. Okay. Maybe you can come back. Yeah. You know, at the moment I only planted very small amount because it was so dry. Yeah. I just you notice over there where there's bare muchanga, I didn't plant it because where there was it was high risk. Yeah. So where the wheat was, we had that stubble, and I put these just like a trial to see.
Surprisingly, it has done very well.
But the benefit of this system is that you know, it's very flexible. So even this year, if we didn't get enough rain, I wouldn't just said no, I'm not planting. Yeah, and the key is just that you wait for that muchanga to fill up with moisture. When that, you know, when you start seeing puddles, Julia, you know that all that muchanga is full of maji. Then you plant. Then you've got like a safety catch. You know, you've got a safety. You know that at least that's you know, that's Moizimbili for that crop without any rain. It can survive.
You don't do beans? The yellow beans?
Beans, I tried yellow beans and rose cocoa. The issue with those, I think they do very well here. The only problem is the harvesting. You need special equipment to harvest them by machine. If you do by hand on such a big area, it's gumusana. This crop here would not have been possible without the stubble and all the residue from the previous crop. Now, if I was to have baled this after combining, if I baled it or fungered it or put my gombes here or something, this muchanga would be dry kabisa, and this crop wouldn't have grown very well. So it's very important that you harvest, like for example the sunflowers, you harvest the seeds. The rest of that plant needs to go back on the muchanga, back on the top of the muchanga. If you go and bale that or eat it with gombis, especially in the dry, can be very bad for your soil. You're taking off a lot more nutrients, and then it doesn't have that cover to chunga it from the sun and the wind. If you're in a dry area, that really makes a big difference.
So thank you so much for staying with us. I believe that you've learned quite a lot on today's episode on sunflower farming with Matthew. And as always, keep giving us your feedback across our social media platforms at Farm Kenya. But until next time, it's bye-bye from us.